Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur.
Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Neil Twa. He is the CEO and co-founder of Voltage Holdings. He's an expert in Amazon FBA and e-commerce brand building, and he's got over 17 years of experience generating millions in revenue. After leaving a senior role at IBM, he launched multiple successful brands and now mentors entrepreneurs, helping them build profitable businesses through strategic consulting. His book and podcast, Almost Automated Income with FBA, share insights on scaling e-commerce ventures and achieving lifestyle-driven success. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. I mean, you're someone who's, oh man, you've come such a long way. And it's funny because you started at IBM. For me, IBM always sounds very, I'm sure this is wrong, but it's very formal and straight-laced and you fit in a box. But you're like in so many directions and you've just accomplished so much. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, it's one of those things where IBM taught me how to be, we call it I've been moved. I'm going to say this in a different way because it seemed very formal when I started there. And then they did some acquisition and change. And then it literally, because they moved the framework of the company to traveling a lot, it was a lot more informal at that point. And so because of that, we jokingly called it I've been moved because it seemed like I was moving all the time, 2 to 3 times a week. I was traveling to different locations and projects and all kinds of stuff. So it was keeping me extremely busy and on the road. I didn't want to do that forever. IBM was just a stepping stone on the path of growth for me after leaving college and realizing college was not for me. I wanted to get out and figure out what this big wide world of the internet was doing when it came online. And I wanted to make something of that, but I couldn't do it unless I went to the corporate world. So I actually jumped into Sprint first, and we launched the first mobile PCS device as an employee at Sprint and got to see that company explode and the mobile industry explode from the inside out. That experience led me to IBM. And IBM, it was like the pinnacle of the technology world. And I wanted to get more involved in the business. And so I was thinking, where do I go after here? And IBM said, you can take this job and keep traveling, or you can go to Argentina. And I didn't want to do that. So in 2007, I fired the man, if you will, and burned the boats, but not the bridges, and left making a management consulting for my first opportunity. And so I got out there and started to do it myself, became a single practitioner, a solopreneur, and thought that was really wonderful, except I was still trading time for money, billing hours in the business that I had created. And I just made a nicer house for myself. But in essence, I was still trading that time for money. And I knew that to do the entrepreneurial journey was to get past all of that. I wanted the lifestyle and I didn't want to travel. So I made restrictions on travel. And so that kind of changed my opportunity. I got married the same year I left in 2007. And I found out with my wife, we were pregnant in the same year. So much had changed. I realized this is not the same kind of life that I want to keep working on. And so I had to make some really critical decisions on how I wanted to pivot. And so with that, I decided it was risk or reward. I had to really decide to get involved in the business side of building beyond me. And that took more risks than I had originally understood in the process of building your own company. And that learning where to see that framework and how to overcome it, I hired a mentor and he really pushed me and reminded me that sales fixes everything. There's this really cool, consummate professional guy out of Tulsa. And he really taught me how the sales process and the business development process worked. And I mentored along with him. And that really helped me with my understanding of the risk and growth in the reward and risk reward model. And so I started hiring other management consultants to go out in the field and taking that risk. And I eventually had 10 people working for me around 2010 in the management consulting. We helped deliver private and public projects. I actually went back to IBM and became a subcontractor. So I went to work for them, but I had other management consultants now doing it. And so that actually freed up my time quite a bit as I was becoming more of a business owner and less of a solopreneur and figuring out where I wanted to go. I was still in that, and still am, in that entrepreneurial mindset I think we never lose when we become this kind of business builder. And with that, I was playing around with online marketing. I know I'd gotten out in the world and did online marketing, but I'd never really applied it to my own business and my life. And so I started playing around with mobile marketing and having a good old time with that because it was like Wild West. And I was launching campaigns and dating offer campaigns and paid traffic and lead generation campaigns to all these places around the world. And discovered one particular one took off and was a dating app in South America, and it just went like crazy. And all of a sudden, I'm making $500, $1,000 a day in profit, and that really changed my perspective. And with that, I realized, hey, you know what? I could make this into a business that makes me more money than all the management consultants, and I could turn it into more of a business than I was just doing in the consulting world, which was still billing time and hours in a staffing model. I was just doing with other people. So with that, I realized, okay, let's change this up some. So as I looked at the product and the opportunity, I realized I owned the lead generation, the marketing, and the online, but I didn't own the product. And so as I had to shift through that affiliate marketing style business opportunity, I had all this skill in developing the brand, the avatar, the customer conversation, but I didn't have any skills in the product and development world, either in the digital or physical. And so I started to look at both of those and say, for my brain, it made sense that I would take money and put it into a physical product. So with that, I started to look at the physical product world. Somebody mentioned, hey, have you heard about Amazon FBA? And this is around 2012. I said, no, I haven't heard of it. If it's like eBay, I don't want to do it. I don't want to flip products and have stuff in my garage. I have no interest in doing that. They said, no, they have this thing called Fulfilled by Amazon. I'm like, tell me more. It's basically their infrastructure, their ability to deliver, their boats, their everything. When you send the product and people buy it and you don't have to touch the product, they ship it, they handle it. They'll even do the returns. They do all this automated stuff. And you don't have to warehouse the product. I'm like, okay, now you're speaking my language. And so I went deep into that. And within the first 2 to 3 years, I had met somebody who's very good at the tactical product and manufacturing and finance side. And so we partnered up and we got to our first 7-figure business on Amazon FBA's channel in around 2014. At that point, we were doing so much business. We were drawing the attention of family and friends and connections and, hey, teach us what you're doing, or, hey, we want to do more of this. And so we started to teach more people about where we went with that. And we built in a model of performance-based consulting. So in that way, when we take an operator in and we coach them for 12 months and we work with them one-on-one and build up a company, I teach them how to become a CEO operator just like I did. And while we're still running brands every day, week and month, we have 8 different brands that we control, that we run under Voltage. We also give operators an opportunity to come in and learn how to do what we do and stop trading time for money and use physical products and private label brands as a way to do it. And getting that goal of getting to 7 figures in 12 months or less, I've got repeated case studies of our playbook that we managed to get into position over the years and learned how to do it ourselves big enough that we could teach others. And long story short, we now get operators to help us run our companies, run our product partnerships, and have now moved into acquisitions mode, where we started that process around 2020. And by 2021, I'd raised about $100 million in capital to go out and acquire roughly around 50 companies. We were set to become what's called an Amazon aggregator, if you ever heard that terminology or whatever. And basically, we were going to buy companies and hold them into a portfolio. And it looked really good and everything was going really great. But by the time I'd raised the capital around 2021, in November, the numbers just didn't work out anymore. The market had grown so much and they put in billions of dollars in capital growth. At that point, somewhere around 12 to 15 billion in growth, was moving extremely fast. And with that, they were buying up all the businesses, even at 30, 40% above asking price. And we realized that was way too much from an operational control of the company to sustain that kind of additional purchase into the business, as opposed to putting it into the operations and the growth and into the operating expenditures as opposed to the capital expenditures. And so with that, we stopped. We backed out. We said, we can't do this. So we put a pause. But fast forward a couple of years later, we've watched that market change dramatic. And so we're back into the business investment side, and we are acquiring 5 companies through a more mission-based focused company that we did a joint venture with and created in January of 2024, which is called Patriot Growth Capital. And with that, we are now acquiring through a veteran-owned, veteran-backed, veteran-supported, and we will hire veterans to become operators and CEOs and train with us to manage these companies that we'll go acquire. And we're set to acquire 5 of those by the end of 2025. So I've taken the whole entrepreneurial, solopreneur risk dive. And in the process of that, I'll just back up and say this one last thing before we get off this topic. But I failed in business to the degree that it looks like a failure to the world. I got heavily leveraged in between my time between IBM and the time between I jumped into physical products in a business I thought was going to be extremely successful. And I leveraged myself too far into it. And I realized that part of my partnership wasn't acting in the most ethical way, and I wasn't getting paid. And then I found out why, because the money wasn't being applied to the research and development of the product that we had a patent on, as it should have been. And I got too leveraged. And so strategically, I had to do a business bankruptcy. So that kind of set me back and restructured my thought process and focus and got me involved in the online marketing, which led to the physical product. So that could be seen by some people as a total failure. I see it as just a stepping stone in my process to becoming more of a strong business owner who wants to do business at this level with people who have failed at something to some degree. So they know their own boundaries, as I've learned that in my own walk, and in turn this more into kind of a business investor side. So hopefully that wasn't too boring for anybody listening.
No, that's so fascinating. So what you mentioned private label, there's
Yes.
probably people listening who haven't heard of that before. Go into what is private label, and then what are someone who's starting in that world of Amazon, being a seller on Amazon, but may not be aspiring to where you've taken it, which is you're now buying companies and setting up like subsidiaries and all these things. But if someone's, hey, that sounds pretty cool, getting on Amazon,
Right.
selling a product, what is this private label thing?
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
So private label is just anything in which a brand has created a trademark label around it. So if you enjoy iPhone, that's a private label brand. If you like KitchenAid appliances, those are private label. So we actually build a private brand that we have manufactured for us, and then we sell it in the market under our own label, and we create intellectual property or IP around it, which we own. The product manufacturing and delivery of that. So we're creating a unique product in that way. And it sounds complicated at first, but it isn't terribly complicated to create that product and identify it. So we actually train people from the beginning stage on what the heck to sell. The first question everybody has is, what the heck do I actually sell? It's actually more of the answer to the question being, how do I sell and who do I sell to? That it kind of answers the question of what you sell. Because if you understand the numbers and the data, then you understand who you're going to potentially sell to and what kind of person they are and why they would buy Cuisinart over KitchenAid. And you understand the differences in there, or why they would buy one product from Walmart and somebody else would buy it from Whole Foods, or somebody else buys it from a Pottery Barn. You need to understand why and what level of quality, type, material, pricing, and expectations that person would have. And as you understand that, get better at defining it, and then realize who they are and how you can sell to them, you then become somebody who understands you can put anything in a box and sell it to anyone in 30 seconds or less once you understand their pain point benefits. When you know why they want to buy it and what they're after, and you can answer those questions quickly in their head, you can sell it. And as you teach people and to train them through that process, and we teach them to go by the numbers, the business and fundamentals of actually making it profitable, and then building a brand, which isn't terribly hard to do because there's so many products out there. We don't need to marry any product in this process because there's so many opportunities. And how to get that traffic going initially on Amazon. That's our first channel, our first sales channel we prefer to go to because it's huge demand capture. Amazon is a huge demand capture platform, meaning all the other places online where somebody can buy something, even on television, many times, up to 30% of the time, they end up on Amazon buying that product. They understand the market, they trust the brand, they know the delivery, and they know the way to return it if they don't like it. And they know they can leave negative reviews if they really don't like it. So the customer has a really powerful connection with that Amazon brand. And so we leverage their brand to create one that no one's ever heard of, and we deliver our products to the doors. And we teach people how to go through those 4 steps to setting up that business with the goal of achieving 7 figures in 12 months or less. And it's a proven process over and over again. It is proven in the way that we document and control how that playbook actually works so that each operator has their fair shot at doing it correctly, because we're consulting with them on the process of building. The goal is to get them through the next 2 to 3 years of business building so they have an actual asset that I can acquire. So I'm both the beginning and the end, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And for people who look at you and what you've accomplished and say, yeah, but you started at the right time and it's just overly saturated right now for someone to get started today in Amazon, what would you say to them?
So how many pizza brands are there? Can you name maybe how many burger joints there are? There are a lot, right?
No idea, but there's enough probably just even in walking distance from me.
So they're all in brand competition with each other with similar products. So the effect really comes down to the kind of product and brand awareness that exists out there. In other words, creating a physical product brand is an evergreen, what we call an evergreen blue sky opportunity. It's not actually saturated when you're creating a private label brand that you own. What you're doing is you're actually competing in a market share against other brand sellers and you are innovating product ideas, you don't have to invent a product, you simply innovate. Okay. So Burger King, for example, just as this really base dumb example, is got the counter to McDonald's burger. What is that thing called? I don't even eat McDonald's. I forget what it's called. The quarter pounder, I believe it's called. Forgive me. That's probably a bad
Sure.
example.
I think there's a
Yeah.
Big Mac, maybe both.
There's
Yeah.
also a Big Mac, but I think the quarter pounder, I think they're comparable to some degree because it was the quarter pounder deal over here with McDonald's. And then it was like the flame broiled hamburger over here with Burger King. It was like flame broiled. Okay, there's your unique selling position, right? There's your slight innovation to the burger. And so people particularly go to Burger King because they want that flame broiled taste, right? So it's simply just an innovation of the burger. So we do something in it, and that's a very basic understanding of this, but we do something very similar to the products. There are products that exist. There are coffee machines and bed sheets, and there are air mattresses and other products that exist in the marketplace already. We simply innovate a new variable on that product and present it back to the market. We do a better job, usually, of understanding the avatar and taking the time to understand them and why they're going to buy and how we answer those pain points in 30 seconds or less to convince them to buy our product and not somebody else's. And so we can take that competition away through a number of digital marketing mechanisms we use to ensure that when a product goes to market, we have a good 80% confidence that it will sell. And the 20% question is, how much is it going to sell? And did we match our requirements for profit in the first 90 days after it launches? So we look at this from a very business metric driven, and we take all the emotions out of it.
And so, is there a use case or one product, something that you can take us through to show us its journey or evolution from maybe even drawing board or idea through success? And that would be
So here's one. Yeah. Here's one that's literally happening in real time right now. And if you guys go follow my social medias, you will see me documenting this with the team. But it's one we just launched 30 days ago. Yesterday was its 30th day, and it surpassed over 51,000 in sales. In the first 30 days, we launched it in its first major test market run before we order a whole bunch more and push that up to 100,000 a month, 150,000 a month. And that'll probably happen within the next 4 months or so as our current target goes. So it's a product. It's a bed sheet product. It's in the linen side of the home and kitchen space. It was something that we got, literally the innovation. We went and applied to the Egyptian consulate to have the product, the commerce, in Egypt. And we applied to have them certify the product as Egyptian cotton. So we actually have a registered Egyptian government certification of that cotton that has been quality controlled and checked by them. And they issued us a identification for that, an actual number. And we're one of the only brand right now on Amazon that has that certification. So we created a very not terribly complicated. It took us about 2 months to get that certification, completely worth it because that product has that very unique variable. And we actually sell it for between $200 and $275 for the different kinds of sheet sets. The queen, there's a king split and a regular king sheet. And we're finding actually the king split is actually selling the most at around $225 per sheet set. So that one's actually going on right now. It's growing. We're doing between 3,000 to 5,000 a day in sales. We're headed into the holidays at the time of this recording. So this may, I don't know when it's going to come out exactly, but headed into the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas holiday. We're really going to be doubling down on our ad spend for acquisition of customers, along with the organic growth that is happening inside of Amazon, which is very kind of a cool dichotomy that occurs in that marketplace. And we're going to launch that into next year at current pace. It's $1 million brand right now, and we're going short of hitting 2 to 3 million in sales by the end of 2025. Everything looks to be right on target to do that. That one literally just came out as most recent as to something we're doing. I've got a few others as well, but that one's right on top of my head because we're heads down working on that product right now.
I know with Amazon, there's the good and bad of it, where Amazon is in communication with the customer for returns, for payment processing, all that. That's the direct link. And so as the seller, you don't have that conversation directly with the customer. So it's good and bad because it takes you out of that being the retailer. But on the downside, you're not just adding customers automatically to your mailing list, and you can't then tell them about the new sheets that came out in the next quarter, new colors, whatever it is. How do you harvest your customer data? Or do you not even bother kind of care about that because there's so many new customers and hopefully return customers just through Amazon, retargeting them internally for ads? How do you reconcile the sort of the good and the bad, the downside and the upside?
Pros and cons. So we do capture somewhere up to 40% of the customer information within Amazon's terms of service, as long as we present it in such a way that is within the best interest of the customer, and we don't make an effort to pull them off of the platform. We simply encourage them within the terms of service to get information from us, which we are able to do through packaging and QR codes and information that follows up after the purchase. And from that, we do capture about 40% of the information to an email list and into our systems. We can't capture all of it, to your point, and we certainly don't solicit phone call, email, or direct message those individuals because they technically are Amazon's customer, to your point. In some eyes, that's a con. If you stay there forever on that single channel, there are multiple reasons there that I would recommend you don't do that. It is just a first sales channel. You should have an omni-channel or a multi-channel strategy so that customer lists and full customer data can come to you. So your own website, Shopify, WooCommerce, et cetera, is definitely needed as the brand expands. You should certainly look at places like TikTok Shop for demand creation as you identify the brand, the products, and the capture of that existing demand market. It will really help you dial in the message, copy, image, graphics, and videos necessary to really push that back into the direct to consumer world, which is what you're talking about. Yeah, it would be cons if you stayed on that old channel for a long time and didn't get a position to capture the customer data and build the asset of the business. It certainly is a con for me when I look at buying a company. If it's a single channel Amazon only, it's going to have a much lower reduction of profit and just in terms of the amount we'll pay for the business, the multiples of the business. So we want them to have opened or at least attempted to open or have at least 50% of their business on other channels besides the single channel of Amazon, because there are cons to not having additional channels. But at the end of the day, one thing is a very big pro. Amazon can capture that demand, capture it extremely fast. And in 3 to 4 years, we built $10 to $50 million brands extremely fast, leveraging their system. Since they do handle a lot of that automation on the backside, which is great. We don't have a warehouse. I don't mess with it. I don't have employees. I'm not doing all that nonsense. I'm able to focus on the marketing, direct customer relationship and acquisition of those customers and spend a lot of time making sure we're really dialing and capturing that market share and then being able to take that market share out into multiple channels and simply grow the basis of the company as well as growing its evaluation. So everybody who's serious about building an e-commerce company, whether they start on DTC or they start on Amazon, they're going to need both. It's just a matter of when they get to both. As I built companies and grew up in the internet age, there was the thing with businesses being in the yellow books. You just were a serious company if you weren't in the yellow books, right? And then you're not a serious business if you don't have a brochure website. And then it's come up to the place where now if you have an e-commerce company and you don't have an Amazon channel, it's not having a valid online verifiable place that you are a serious e-com company. If you have a direct-to-consumer Shopify channel, et cetera, you will find up to 30% of your paid media spend every month is going to end up buying on Amazon. And the same thing happens on the TikTok Shop. So we call that the halo effect, which means you need the multiple channels in which your customer avatar is living and buying and on. And they're not on every channel, by the way. You can take some products to say Walmart from Amazon and discover they don't sell very well. You could take a product from Amazon and it does really well on Amazon and take it on TikTok Shop and spend a lot of money and content and influencers and creating videos and stuff and find out it just doesn't sell very well there. So we make sure that our products have looked at the omni-channel or data and determined that if I launch it on Amazon, I know there's a market share for it already on TikTok Shop, or I can create market share through paid media and influencer traffic on, say, Shopify or my own website before launching that product. It's just one of the due diligence steps that we go over because we know we want to capture that customer information. It's valuable to the business. It adds more to the bottom line.
Tell us about your book as well as your podcast.
So the book called Almost Automated Income really is the basis of which that done-for-you infrastructure that Amazon created is based on. So many people focus on the product, but I say focus on the customer first and then focus on the product second. See, I went and made a huge mistake in life by focusing way too much time, energy, attention, and money on the product, not actually getting into a saleable state. And part of that crashed the business along with what I mentioned earlier. So I went about looking at it from a very different light, and I look at it from the product selling position. So the book goes through our 5x5 playbook that talks about how to find the product, ensure the product is profitable, ensure you understand the fundamentals of the entire business of e-com, and then understanding the first channel of success, Amazon FBA, and then how to leverage that into a almost automated income where done correctly over time These businesses at 7 and 8 figures can be ran by one primary operator and 3 to 4 virtual assistants and very targeted areas of focus of support in the business. So I can have an operator who runs multiple companies across that because so much of the systems are now automated. So we pay a fee, obviously, to Amazon, a referral fee for the product and opportunity and get access to their customers. But at the same time, I can go spend 10, 20, 50, 100,000 a month paying for media to get access to customers through Facebook, AdWords, TikTok, etc. And I'm going to have the same cost at the end of the day when it comes down to the bottom line. I'm going to have the same 18 to 25% net profit or EBITDA that a direct channel market is going to have. So it's just a matter of what product and profitability you look at in the way that you define the business and grow it. So the book basically goes through that, 15 different chapters. There's experts that are interviewed in each of that, and it goes over my 555 playbook to make sure people understand the strategy of building a business, the fundamentals of business and practicality of it, and then understanding the first channel potential of Amazon FBA as a startup for someone who might be an entrepreneur or a DTC owner who wants to come onto Amazon and take advantage of that marketplace and really see it work for them.
Amazing. And then I'm assuming the podcast piggybacks onto that same sort of content and messaging.
It does. Yeah, High Voltage Business Builders podcast. We're now global 3% and listen notes. Been doing it since December 2021. So this is coming up on my third year here in December. And we talk a lot about the business, the finance, the e-com, the products, the fundamentals of creating and building an omni-channel brand. And it really does resonate on my experience and those who come on and guest with me from the different components of the different variables of e-commerce, which could be dealing with the finances and cash flow, could be dealing with my time and relative to the output and the money and the effort, attention to certain things in the market like AI and user-generated content and the other effects of those in the business today and how much that's changed in 3 years. And so we talk a lot about that on the podcast and give people an opportunity to get some insider information, spend 25 minutes listening as people pick my brain and I pick their brain in the world of e-commerce.
And how do people get their hands on the book? Where is it available?
Yep. So you can go to my website, voltagedm.com/book and check a copy of it, or Book NT, I believe. It's on the website. Or you can go to Amazon. Of course, it's on Amazon as well. Just type in Almost Automated Income with FBA and you will see it pop up. You can grab it from Amazon. There's a paperback copy there and a digital copy as well.
It would be extremely odd if it wasn't on Amazon, wouldn't it?
How bad would I have been as a marketer if it's not on Amazon too?
No, that's great. And then AI is pretty big right now, artificial intelligence. What role does AI play in your world?
So in my world, it plays a big role. And here's why. Because I actually worked on AI when I was at IBM. I worked on a couple of different projects where I got to have the honor of being out in Armonk, where all the patent research stuff comes out. I got to spend time on the Super Watson Blue computer and working with the team there on Deep Blue, which was super cool as we were working with human machine language interfacing and semantic-based search engines and knowledge-based information as they were building large language models back then. Fast forward 22, 24 years now, AI has made its way into the mainstream. Now, the AI that's in the mainstream is not even the AI I was working on 24 years ago. So what today, in some ways, is advanced, but nothing compared to what I saw 24 years ago. Meaning that so much stuff below this iceberg hasn't even derived yet. We're literally at the tip of the iceberg. So as we've incorporated some things like GPT agents into research, product evaluation, market evaluation, simulated survey groups, we use it for, as well as listing and copywriting optimizations and keyword research, and even agents to go and do research within our dashboard. We have a proprietary software dashboard we created that does product research and evaluation for our data sets. We use agents for chat. So if you want to speak to an agent relative to all of Amazon's terms of service, we have one of those. If you want to talk to it about product research, we have one of those. If you want to have it help write your copy to ensure it's compliant and it converts well and it has natural language formatting so it reads and actually gets to the benefits, we have that as well. So AI, even down to the PPC campaign management for pay-per-click advertising and marketing, is now being used. And we use it literally for the management of just-in-time product and inventory to ensure quality control, movement of inventory, and profitability of inventory through movement and logistics. So it is now touching every component of our e-commerce model inside of our business now.
And how does someone work with you? You said that you do mentor others or entrepreneurs. Tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. So the operations component of what we do now, having no employees, is actually ran by what I call my CEO operator mercenaries. As we've trained them up over 12 months, 24, 36 months, they have basically come to a position where they are extremely strong in the business model because they run the companies. And since we trained them on our playbook and how to grow, then we give them the opportunity to build with us and use my systems, technology, people, and processes and incubate with us to build those brands. And I train them how to become operators who then back into CEOs and give them the opportunity to partner in products with us, partner in businesses, and even partner in the acquisitions of companies and maybe becoming an operator or an investor operator with us. And so they grow with us over quite a long time. And I try to choose between, say, 5 to 7 people a month. I don't even need that many. I'm really just looking for who are my top end operators who match up with the right profile, aptitude. We do a DISC assessment, DISC, to determine their profile of a builder type, even if they're a W-2 employee or another entrepreneur or a solopreneur. We're really looking for aptitude for people who are interested in this kind of model, because ultimately there's so much more we could do together. And of course, I know that those kinds of people working with us for the first 12 months, specifically heads down one-on-one in a process-oriented goal of reaching 12 months and 7 figures in the business, is that those unicorns, if they're out there, and I do find them, not always every month do I find 5 to 7, but I'm searching, have a big opportunity in a kind of a triple win scenario. They win in the growth and understanding the knowledge and launching the company. We win when the business gets to a certain point where we can acquire it. And then we all win when the business exits. And so I look for those individuals and they can come talk with me personally. Don't have a sales team. It's myself, my direct partner, and my CEO operators who work in the consultation of the business, own and operate daily, weekly, and monthly. And you learn side by side with business operators doing the business today.
And how do people get in touch with you?
VoltageDM.com. If they want to go check out the free training, the workshop, my mentor, Kevin Harrington, who wrote the foreword on the book, is got a presentation with me in there about how we do our As Seen on TV strategy here for growing and building these brands into an omni-channel. Any of the social medias, whichever one you feel, X, Facebook, Instagram, you can find me out there by just Googling my last name, TWA. You can't miss me. And you can check out all that information on one of those channels, whichever one makes sense to you.
And then for you, let's just talk for a moment to anyone listening who maybe came into this feeling like not having the best day, and everything you've said has just now inspired this person. But what would your parting words be to not just inspire them, but get them off the sofa, right? Get them off the sideline. Actually make a change in their life. Would you say?
Yeah, that's so great. And it's without being too soft in the motivation. I will tell you that tenacity and fortitude are 2 of the biggest things I look at in people, even if they've never done this kind of business or even started a business yet. I look at the way they explain their life and do things. And there's something that's common across those folks who, while I take them out and show them, how to drink the water, I can't force them. As the saying in the country says, lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. At the end of the day, they're go-getters, they're tenacious, they're planning to do it. They happen to cross paths and realize this is somebody that can help them. This is somebody that can make it easier, faster, and there's more opportunity to learn and grow quicker. Those kinds of folks typically find that they know that their opportunity is beginning at the end of their excuses, and they're done making excuses. They're done trading time for money. They're done missing kids' dances. They're done missing certain things in life. They're done skipping over dollars and picking up pennies instead of what they're doing. And maybe they've been at this career for 10 or 12 or 20 years, and they're like, hey, I'm done with that. I want something exciting. I want to take a little risk. I want to do my own thing. Those folks match up literally most all of the people who work with us now. I've got former golf course managers and stay-at-home moms. I got state representatives and military pilots. I've got doctors and dentists and everybody else in between, from 19-year-old high school dropouts to 76-year-old grandmas who have done this successfully. So it really just gets down to the aptitude and tenacity of someone who's going to do this, realize it, and go 3 to 5 years is not a long time for me to build a business that might create generational time freedom or generational wealth. And it really gets down to them truly understanding that there's no more excuses for them to get started. They just need to get going, because something perfect will happen in all that imperfect action, as long as they just get started.
Amazing. Thanks, Neil. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you today, learning about what you've done and accomplished. And I think especially that last piece hopefully inspires someone to take action today. Thanks again for being a guest on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been my honor. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use the coupon code PODCAST, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.